An American man from Wyoming, abducted by the alien in the woods. His name is Karl Higdon, man who was abducted by the alien and remembered everything. While hunting a deer, a man named Karl Higdon from Wyoming met an alien who had come to Earth also to hunt deer. This alien treated the hunter with unusual pills and then kidnapped it and took him to his planet. On October 25, 1974, the Carl Higdon was 41 years old, who worked in the oil industry, went hunting in the woods for a weekend. On the advice of seasoned hunter, whom he had met earlier by chance, he chose the area of the Medicine Bow National Forest in Carbon Country, Wyoming, USA. Higdon himself was an experienced hunter, but he had not yet been to these places. It turned out to be a remote and inhabited area where there were practically no sign of human presence in the forest. He then drove by car on a dirt road and then walked over a small coastal hill. When he was on the other side of the hill, he immediately came across a herd of deer, one of which was a large and handsome male with branched antlers, a welcome prey for any hunter. Not believing his luck, Higdon was about to shoot the deer when something very strange happened. He aimed, fired, but suddenly the shot was completely silent, and the rifle did not recoil. And then Higdon watched in amazement as the bullet from the rifle flew ahead in very slow motion at such a slow pace. The bullet flew only a few meters and then fell sharply to the ground, as if it had hit an invisible barrier. When the hunter looked at it and wondered, he noticed that the whole atmosphere around him became tense, as if filled with static electricity. He then went to the bullet to pick it up and saw that it was flattened as if it had hit something very strong. The deer had already fled from the clearing by the time Higdon was not alone there. I heard a noise as if the branches were crunching. Looked to the right, and there, in the shade of the trees, I saw a human figure, said the hunter. The figure was the size of the tall man and wore a tight black jumpsuit, similar to a diving suit. He wore a pair of seat belts and metal belt with a yellow star decoration on at his waist. Despite being human, the creature's head was not human at all. He had no ear, his eyes were small and deep-set. His mouth was an open slit from which very large teeth were visible, and two short antennae grew from his forehead. The hair on the creature's head was like straw and stood straight up. The creature did not fall. An eerie head sat right on his shoulder, merging with the body. The arms were very long, while one arm had something like a chisel instead of a wrist at the end, and the other had no wrist at all. The strange entity looked at Higdon for a few moments, and then took a few steps toward him and asked him in perfect English, "How are you?" Astonished, Higdon answered, "Okay." After a couple of seconds, the creature nodded at this and came even closer. It didn't look threatening, and then asking Higdon if he was hungry. Without waiting for the hunter's response, the creature pulled out a plastic bag from somewhere and set it through the air as if using telekinetic toward the hunter. He cocked this package, opened it somehow, and found 4 pills inside. The creature said the pills would keep him full for the day. The hunter pulled out and swallowed and put the rest in his pocket. Then the creature finally introduced himself and said his name is also One, and then pointed to something behind it. Higdon saw there a transparent cube-shaped object that looked like a large box. He saw no entrance, no window, no chassis. The box just stood on the ground. It was much smaller than any of our commercial or military planes. You'll think I am crazy, but this teeny thing was about 1.5 meter high, 1.8 meter long, and 1.2 meter wide. Osi asked Higdon if he wanted to ride this, and before the hunter could answer, he somehow ended up inside the box. Looks like he was teleported there. He did not understand how to fit into this tiny space, but he was immediately seized by panic when he saw that his arm and leg were tied with small kind of the ribbon. When he calmed down a little and came to himself, he saw in the same box a kind of force field in which five deer floated. They were as if frozen, and he was sure that these were the same deer that he had seen in the clearing. Then he saw in the same box another creature from the ox race. This creature approached the hunter and put a helmet on his head. Then the ship took off. In Higdon could see through the transparent walls. How they went up, there was his car at the bottom of the hill. Also pointed at him with some kind of device and track. To Higdon's horror disappeared. Then they climbed even higher, and now they were in Earth orbit. Then they flew into the deep space, and OC said that they flew 163,000 light miles from Earth. They ended up on a new planet where the ship approached a huge tower. Around the tower there were many colored lights revolving like powerful searchlights. They were so bright that it hurt to keep my eyes open. I tried to cover my face with my hand and shot to turn them off. They burned me. I couldn't stand their head. What happened next? He didn't hardly remember. At some point he saw a group of people outside, but he didn't understand why they were there and who they were. And then Ossie told him that his race regularly flies to Earth to hunt and fish. Then the hunter was placed in a certain room where he was scanned by some kind of device. Also said that the hunter was not suitable for their purpose, and therefore they would bring him back home. They were on Earth as quickly as they flew away from it. Before releasing Higdon, Ossie took the bag with pills from him and then wanted to take his gun, but said that he was forbidden to do so. The alien then disappeared, and Higdon found himself in the forest, completely disoriented and frightened. He wandered around until he somehow found some kind of transport, climbed into it, and only a little came to his sense. He realized that it was in fact his car. With the help of the radio, he gave distress signal and then sat in the car and shivered, waiting for help. When the search party reached him, it turned out that his car was parked at the bottom of the forest gorge 5 miles from where he left it. There were no roads nearby and there were no tire tracks in the gorge, so this fact was already a good proof of Higdon's words. Among the search persons was Higdon's wife, but he did not immediately recognize her from the stress he had endured. Later it turns out that in this area on the eve of the abduction of the hunter, other people saw strange light in the sky. When Higdon was found, he was so confused that he had little to say. He only kept repeating about the bullet which flattened it out and impact on something invisible. Most of his memories were obtained through regressive hypnosis, and the medical examination of the hunter was carried out, and it turned out that the scars left from his long-term tuberculosis disappeared from his lung, and stones from which he had suffered for a long time disappeared from the kidneys. A flattened field was found in his jacket pocket, and research showed that it could only get such damage hit a very hard surface, harder than wood or stone in the forest. Later, Higdon was repeatedly called a fraud who supposedly invented all this in order to become famous. But at least the strange fact of finding his car in the place where it could not be in any way, according to the law of physics, showed that the story is real. And this is the story is all about. Thank you for listening. See you next.